sociopath or a narcissist be afraid, very afraid of the borderline personality disorder, because they will clean the room with your ass. When a borderline transitions into psychotic rage, it is like a lightning bolt up your ass. There's no stopping it. So when you hear people say that the sociopath and the narcissist win every time, I call bullshit. In my opinion, it's the borderline that is at the top of the food chain when we're talking about the cluster B personality disorder. And it's simply because borderlines transition into psychotic rage. And when they do that, they will murder you. They will cripple you. There's no filter, and there are no consequences for them in that moment. Whereas with most sociopaths and narcissists, when they transition into rage, they still are aware of consequences, which often causes them to pull back before they murder someone or cripple someone. In my opinion, a lot of murderers who are diagnosed as sociopaths are in fact misdiagnosed. They are actually borderlines who transitioned into psychotic rage. So another point I want to make is that a lot of borderlines reel in sociopaths and narcissists through love bombing. And in my opinion, the borderline, they invented love bombing. And I think of it this way. The borderline taught the sociopath and the narcissist everything they know about love bombing. Borderlines are the masters of love bombing. And that's how they reel people in initially. Because when a borderline is flooded with the emotion of love, it's love on steroids, and they mean it. So you can see it oozing out of their eyes when they say, I love you, I worship you. And when the borderline says, I would jump in front of a car to save your life, they mean it. Because on the borderline spectrum, you have here in the middle, and then on one end you have them experiencing psychotic rage, and then on the other end they experience psychotic euphoria, psychotic love and worship. And so the borderline is believable, because when they love you, they mean it. So for a sociopath, this is the perfect target. So they welcome the borderline into their life. And the same with the narcissist. They welcome the borderline into their narcissistic space, because the borderline is the perfect manufacturer of narcissistic supply. The narcissist is an addict, so you can imagine that this endless supply that borderlines offer them, it's the best. It's wonderful. So that's how the borderline is able to capture the narcissist and the sociopath. But what the sociopath and narcissist often do is they underestimate the borderline, and they think that they have a lot more control over the borderline than they actually do. It's actually the borderline who is running the show. You have to remember that the borderline is the one who has manipulated them into taking them on through the love bombing, which they are masters at. They are superior at love bombing. So that's how they reel in the sociopath and narcissist. And then what happens is that if the sociopath or narcissist cause the borderline to transition into psychotic rage, this is when the borderline will murder them, will cripple them. There's no filter. And I think that a great way to distinguish between a covert narcissist and a sociopath versus a borderline is that after the borderline acts out and, let's say, murders someone or injures someone, or destroys their environment, when they transition out of the psychosis, you will see genuine regret and remorse, and they'll be horrified that they have done this. Whereas with the sociopath and the covert narc, they might be great at acting, but you can still, if you know what to look for, see that it's not genuine. It's still, if you look at their eyes, they don't mean it. Whereas the borderline, you'll really see the true emotion coming out of their eyes. And even if the emotion is based on delusions, the borderline, they still mean it. And so that is my take on the borderline. I think that they will absolutely clean the room with your ass when you anger them, and there is nothing that will stop them. And the other point that I wanted to make is that with the borderline, you'll know, because when they are angered, there's absolutely no delay to their outrage and when they act out. Whereas with the sociopath and narcissist, when you trigger anger with them, their reaction might happen very quickly, but it's still thought out. They're still aware of the consequences. Therefore, they often will pull back before they actually murder you. Whereas the borderline, there's no hesitation, there's no delay. If they're in the midst of psychotic rage, they will murder you without hesitation. So that is another way that it's a subtle difference, but I still think that it's noteworthy. No delay with the borderline, and there will still be a teeny bit of a delay with the sociopath and narcissist before they actually murder someone most of the time. So I think that's it as far as my comparisons between the two. So as always, stay strong and get toxic people out of your life.